What is up, guys? Today we're going to be diving into the character that is Ochako Uraraka. But before that, I want to give a special shout out to my boy Don't Flame from the Bragos Discord, who recently binged the entire series in about 5 days. And that's one of the main reasons I decided I would do this video, because he decided that Ochako was best girl. And I kind of want to give a shout out to people who are getting on board in the series, that want to get caught up. And, I think it's just a nice thing to do. So, Flame, this one's for you. So I just want to dive right in. I've been doing this series on this channel for a while now. What it means to be a hero, and first off, let's just take a walk through Ochako's character and kind of dissect, where she is, what it means to be a hero within the context of the verse, and what it means in her mind. So one of the first things that I want to start off with is that even within the first time you see Ochako, she's actually saved Deku more times than anyone else in the series, even if it is technically in the most minor of ways, well, from minor to major. So let's start off with her introduction, where she stops Deku from making a complete joke of himself and falling and busting his head in the concrete. She says herself, "Oh, I figured you wouldn't mind if I used the concrete to save you from this embarrassment." And then you fast forward to the entrance exam, where she's still, we haven't gotten a lot of her yet. We just see her, prepping. Ida tells him not to bother her. She almost gets crushed by the zero-pointer. Deku smashes it. She saves Deku, which I think is a good way to balance out the relationship. She saves Deku, Deku protects her. There's an established give and take. She's not inherently a damsel that cannot do anything of her own volition, and I think that's a very important detail to have within the character, because it's very typical to have these shonen women that just kind of get saved all the time and don't really ever contribute in another way. The reality is that no Uraraka, and basically Deku looks like what happened at the end of the most recent chapter to Kiryu-sama and a lot of the other members of the Liberation Army, which was caused by Uraraka's quirk being used by Toga. But that out of the way, though, I think it's kind of important to notice that as you transition into the sports festival and she gets to be a bit more center stage, not necessarily at the forefront of the roster. I'm not going to lie and tell you that that's how it goes down, but instead what I would say, though, is that we get more characterization. And one of the things that we find out is that she decided to go to the Hero Academy and become a hero, not for emulating All Might, not to spite her dad, not to live up to her brother's expectations or who her brother is or anything like that, or she's not some rich kid coming in because daddy can recommend that she gets into the school. She's there specifically because she worked hard for it, and she wants to provide a beautiful life for her family, specifically her father and mother, who have worked hard to raise her. They run a company, and she feels like maybe, if she could just get a hero license, she could help them save money on cost and all these other things, just really contribute. So she goes into the sports festival just roaring, which I think is, a fitting title, because Roaring Sports Festival, that whole thing. But she goes into it, she's trying her best. She makes it a point to finish within the top 42 for the obstacle race. She goes into the cavalry battle paired up with Deku, does her best to contribute both while making equipment and other people float. But in addition to that, just trying to help run defense. And when Deku was let's get to 1 million, she was yeah, let's go for it. She tries to be encouraging and supportive of him. Yes, part of that was her competing with Hatsume, but I also think that genuinely she did want to win, and she does care about the sports festival for her own reasons, which is later showcased after the Bakugo versus Uraraka match, in which she loses, and we get one of the most pure and wholesome moments in the series afterwards, which is actually one of the few moments to actually make me kind of shed a tear a little. Actually, depending on the mood I'm in, it can definitely make me cry, where she's on the phone with her father, and he's kind of yo, you don't have to hurry, you don't have to rush. Just all around being a way better parent than you expect in an anime, because honestly, most parents in anime are garbage tier 7. Instead, she's got the supportive family, and it really gets you like it lets you understand why, like why she decides that she wants to help her family, why that's her ambition. It's not just like some, oh, I'm a familial loyalist. No, she has a healthy and supportive family that wants the best for her, that doesn't even want her to be focusing on, like, you know, saving them and making their lives better. They just want her to focus on being happy. And in fact, he even tells her, you know, if you make a lot of money, you know, you can just take us to Hawaii. Like, don't worry about us. Enjoy your life. We did not have a daughter so that she could, you know, be our backup plan, our insurance policy, and save our day. We had a daughter because we wanted to have a family with her and, you know, raise her. And I think that's a very cool step to have and within My Hero, because again, this series emphasizes parenting very well and the impact it has on you. And so in this case, we have somebody with a healthy, structured family who's bubbly, friendly, kind, honestly hardworking. And you can see that, like, she gets that from her parents, who run a company, who support her, encourage her, and try their best to help her have a good life. It's also worth noting that after the sports festival, it's kind of revealed that she doesn't live in the same town as her parents, which means her parents are also kind of throwing money at her, hoping that, like, giving her an apartment at the time, living, like, in the city that the UA school is located in, which is a detail that people don't talk about a lot, but I think is kind of important, because she was kind of talking about feeding herself, if you remember, as she was walking home, and they surprised her and they poked her eyeball back in, because anime. But the thing about the sports festival also is that it sets up her internship arc, where she goes and joins Gunhead and learns the most effective martial arts fighting style in the entire My Hero Academia verse, bar none. Gunhead martial arts will solo anyone. You can tell because even though she only spent a week with him and didn't go back, we later find out during the work study arc that she's with Ryukyu, and she's still using Gunhead martial arts, but also with the, at the time, number 9, now number 10 heroes training. You could argue that there's a potential setup that her and Tsuyu Asui will be the 9th and 10th hero, and that's why Ryukyu is the 9th and 10th hero, and they both trained under her, and that's where their future top 10 hero spots will be. I think that's an interesting perspective to have, and potential. But before I fly all the way to the overhaul arc, let's go back to the exams arc, where she's partnered with Aoyama, and, you know, she doesn't really, like, she almost fails. Aizawa calls her out. It's like they technically passed because they both managed to meet the criteria necessary by capturing 13, but in reality they more or less got that on a fluke, because she got flustered and 13 didn't want to consume her into the black hole, because 13 is not a combat hero. That being said, that was, you know, the beginning of, you know, like, we really start diving into her feelings for Deku and how she is starting to actually feel an attraction for him. But as it happens in the provisional license exam, after, you know, they go through the training, which I think she didn't have, like, a big significant portion of the training in the Woods arc, but she did get her blood taken by Toga, and that rivalry in of itself I think I will be covering later, because I intend to do a series on this channel about rivals also, and Toga and Uraraka is definitely an in-game matchup that I could see happening, and so I'm going to try to cover that and pull out the juxtapositions between the two, and the way their fights have gone, the way they both talk, the way they feel about Deku, and all these other things that I think are being set up to be decent parallels between the two characters that can structure to a very beautiful shonen rivalry between two women. That aside, though, like, moving forward through the provisional license exam, she's, like, trying to put her feelings aside. She tells herself that that's an important thing to do, and I think that's kind of cool, that even though her name is, like, Bubbly Tea Girl, and, like, that's, like, she's supposed to be, like, this friendly, bubbly, and she comes off as airheaded, she does have, you know, strategy. She does think ahead, and this is especially showcased as you fast forward, you know, not just counting, like, the overhaul arc, where, you know, they go to take down the big guy that I can't remember his name right now, but everybody was struggling because he could just suck out vitality. They work together. She goes down there, you know, and you see blatantly that she has gotten better with her quirk when she flies up to the surface with Night Eye and arms. I'm sorry that I'm ripping my nose a lot. It's allergy season. That's just, look, I'm a nerd. It comes with the package. My lady told me so. Like, she made fun of me for it. But the thing is that that scene, a lot of people felt like in the overhaul arc that, you know, she got sidelined. And I agree, like, combative wise, I would have liked to see more out of her during that arc. But what we got out of that was a character, like, psyche progression, where she started off as a hero that wanted to save, you know, like, her family specifically. And then that expanded into her desiring to save other heroes. We see that in the joint training arc, that the idea of, yes, heroes save people, but who saves heroes is something that really came into our mind after trying to save Night Eye, after he lost his arm, got his organs yeeted by Overhaul through the, you know, the alchemy essentially. And, you know, like, yes, they did all that to save Eri, yes, but, like, she also watched Deku put everything on the line and almost die to Rewind to make that rescue happen. And as, you know, we've seen, like, her ideals of, like, what it means to be a hero have evolved and become more fleshed out. I actually think that she's got some of the best focus of all the kids in the class, actually. But during the joint training arc, we get to also see that not only is, like, gunhead martial arts, like, still a big part of her, but she uses it to take down Monoma. She's been practicing her sneaking. There's a chance that she lowered the gravity on herself so that she could move faster, and that's a big suspicion that a lot of people have, that's why she was able to sneak up on Reiko and get that nice smooth judo chop, and then, you know, blitz in and put Size Girl, you know, stuck to the Mineta balls and keep going. Like, honestly, Ochako Uraraka is MVP of round 5 bar none. She makes the point to call out to Shinso to save Deku from the rampaging Black Whip. She makes it a point to discuss with him how to, like, set up the fight so that if he's not using his full powered quirk, that he could at least contribute. She's the reason that you know, she takes on Monoma, essentially puts him down, goes, yo, Deku, he doesn't have your power, make a move. She's essentially the captain of round 5, and I don't think enough people give her credit for that. And so she, you know, takes out Monoma, she takes out Yanagi, she takes out Size Girl, whose name I can never remember because she looks like a Pokemon trainer, so I just want to call her Red. But it seems to me that Ochako, as the main, like, female protagonist of the series, yes, she has a romantic tie to Deku, but she's also directly stated that that is not the focus in her life right now. So I don't think anybody should expect, like, you know, if you really care about ships in My Hero, I think you need to put that on the back burner in the same way that Ochako made that decision, and only expect that to really come into play at the end of the series. But I do expect more moments to be written around that ship to enable it to grow, to make it more genuine. But it's important to realize that Deku was already attracted to her when they first met, so they've obviously been growing as friends and interacting with each other to the extent where she was like, oh, I might over rely on you back in the sports festival, and now she's been making it a point to work her way through and develop her own skills to make sure she doesn't have to rely on Deku, but that rather, if her and Deku are working together, she doesn't want to be a liability. She wants to be a partner, and that's what the gunhead martial arts training, that's what being with Ryukyu, that's what all these things have been building up to for her. And if you remember, during the provisional license exam, they directly state hero teams are the future. This is especially emphasized, even though a lot of people don't notice it, by the pairing of Edgeshot, Kamui Woods, and Mount Lady. I don't think Uraraka is going to be like Mount Lady, who is the 23rd ranked hero and not in the top 10, because Uraraka and Mount Lady are on two very different wavelengths. Mount Lady is about, you know, more or less getting the money, the fame, the, you know, the perks of being a famous pretty girl that also happens to fight crime, whereas Uraraka is here like, I'm trying to save heroes, I'm trying to make sure that my family can eat. And I think that's like a important distinction, especially when you look at what Deku's goal is, which is to be like All Might. Deku wants to be a hero specifically because he's obsessed with All Might. Yes, that's starting to lessen and he's starting to deviate and create his own path, but let's also look at Tenya Ida, who also wants to be a hero, but he wants to be a hero because he wants to be like his big brother who saves people. Yes, these people are actively seeking after saving people, but they are not seeking after saving people directly. The salvation is a byproduct it's like an end to the means of which they wish to achieve other forms of success. So let's also look at Katsuki Bakugo, who says himself that he wants to, like, he's more focused on just beating up bad guys, which is technically a part of being a hero, but it is not the crux of what makes you a hero. Anybody can put somebody in jail, but heroes are technically supposed to be like an enforcement brigade that also inspires people. And so Ochako here, though, is one of the few characters that doesn't have, like, external baggage in the same way that Shoto does, where yes, he wants to be the best hero, but he also really wants to spite his dad, and so he doesn't always, like, have the right focus that he should. So Shoto will, mess up a fight essentially because he's like, oh, I'm mad at my dad today. That's not going to happen with Uraraka. She loves her dad, even if, like, there was like a quirk tie-up, that's not happening. Uraraka is the only person whose goals to be a hero are specifically and only tied to making other people's existences better. It has nothing to do with emulating a role model, has nothing to do with being the next All Might, beating people up, making a bunch of money, getting to touch boys. Yeah, inverted Mineta, like, whose goal is to be a hero just so he can get girls to let him touch them. Ochako is arguably the best candidate emotionally, as far as, like, where her head is, for being, like, #1 hero currently, because she's the one who genuinely wants to be a hero to save people, and that is where she's at. She's trying to save people. Yes, she wants to make money because she wants to use that money to save people. Think about that. Everything about Uraraka's goals revolve around helping other people, period. Her hero name is Uravity, as in Uraraka Gravity, instead of Ochako Gravity or O-Ravity, which would have focused on her name and herself. It's about her family. She is the hero most about other people in the entire class, and I think that's an amazing thing. And so when you look at her progression as far as combat, where she's been making it a point to be a competent hand-to-hand fighter after she lost to Bakugo, when she's been making it a point to be more aware of what her allies are doing after the overhaul arc and what they need to survive and function, I think it's obvious that she's got one of the best growth rates psychologically. I think she's been doing a great job of applying herself physically, and of the characters that I've just dissected and discussed on this channel, and I think it'll be a while before I can really, like, dive into another character. I think when it comes down to whether or not Ochako Uraraka has what it takes to be a hero, and whether or not she has legitimate candidacy as a hero, I think nobody's even touching her right now in Class 1A, at least, as far as the emotional stability. And I think 100% Ochako Uraraka has the most of what it takes to be a hero. Anaki out.